Good morning, Bethel of Mound, friends, families, and visitors. Welcome this morning. Why don't you just sing with me this song, We Believe, and confirm your faith?
In this time of desperation, when all we know is doubt and fear, there is only one foundation. We believe, we believe. In this broken generation, when all is dark, you help us see. There is only one salvation. We believe, we believe, we believe in God the Father. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in the Holy Spirit, and He's given us new life. We believe in the crucifixion. We believe that He conquered death. We believe in the resurrection, and He's coming back again. We believe. So let our faith be more than anthems, greater than the songs we sing. And in our weakness and temptations, we believe, we believe. We believe in God the Father. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in the Holy Spirit, and He's given us new life. We believe in the crucifixion. We believe that He conquered death. We believe in the resurrection, and He's coming back again. Let the lost be found and the dead be raised in the here and now. Let love invade and let the church live loud. Our God will say, we believe, and the gates of hell will not prevail, for the power of God has torn the veil. Now we know your love will never fail. We believe, we believe in God the Father. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in the Holy Spirit, and He's given us new life. We believe in the crucifixion. We believe that He conquered death. We believe in the resurrection, and He's coming back. He's coming back again. He's coming back again. We believe, we believe.
Hey, good morning, all of you out there in Facebook land, friends, families, and honored guests. Hey, I'm Pastor Jim Beard from the Bethel of Mound Church, and we're just inviting you to come and worship with us right now as we hear good news from our God and King, Jesus Christ. Now, you know, Bethel means it's the house of God. So that means if you're going to come and tune in with us, you're a child of God who is loved unconditionally. Just the way you are. Love is surrounding you, and we're going to bless you with messages of that love still today. And I hope you feel it wherever you happen to be. We're in the middle of a series here for this fall. It's a 9-parter that is called The Path Forward. And it's about how when the landscape changes, how it's a lot more difficult to keep moving forward on our journey. This journey, as we say, it's like a path in which you're moving on to become more and more like Christ. You know, our founder, John Wesley, called it moving on to perfection. Not that we're going to become perfect, but you keep moving on to that which is all what Christ is about, and it fills us with life as we go. But it's hard when the landscape changes, and so we're weaving that idea of the path is moving us forward, but we're in a unique time right now, you know, in the life of the church and sometimes in our own personal lives where we're moving forward is hard because it's not the way it was. And so we're weaving together this historical story of the journey and adventures of Lewis and Clark. You may remember the pair who went off with the Corps of Discovery to try to find a passageway from Mississippi to the Pacifics, the Great Northern Passage. Was that what it's called? The Great North Passage, something like that. Northwest Passage, that's what it was. And they were moving along just fine until they ran into something called the Rocky Mountains, and it did not go as they expected at that point. And so I'm pulling some of the materials from the author Todd Bollinger, who wrote a book called Canoeing the Mountains, which basically means if you sometimes hit lots of things where you just get stuck then. You can't canoe anymore. You got to get out of your boat, and now you're facing a mountain. Now what are you going to do? So that's kind of our series. And 2 weeks ago, we were reminding ourselves about how it's important to have that trust in God. You know, that will see us through. Remember that type of trust. And then last week, we talked about having trust in our friendships and with each other. And I was lamenting because I was missing my friend, Sue Elke. Sue!
I'm here.
You're back.
I
am thrilled.
Good. I'm back. Glad to be back.
Did you have a good little time off?
I did have some good times off.
Good. We're glad that you're back, though, because, you know, I wouldn't want to do this without you. So,
well, thank you.
You know, you make the path a little easier and more joyful.
Good.
For sure. So, for me, that I hope you also have friends that you can trust. But today we're taking it another step further here. Today we stop to recognize that, well, it's hard to change, especially to change our expectations. I expect life to be going along this way, and something gets in the way of that. It's not going forward as usual anymore. The world around us, it changes, and therefore we're always in a constant state of change as well. We find ourselves off the map, so to speak. We don't know which way to turn. We don't know where to go. It's a little disorienting. And so there's a different picture of a path each week that we lift up for you. And here's today's, this week's path for you to look at. That's a path that's posted in the middle of, I would call it a quasi-vague kind of path that I was on. We were outside of Moab, Utah, at Arches National Park. And in case you can't read that, here are the big bold letters that say, "Stop! This is not a trail." Ha! Stop. Stop. You cannot go this way anymore. Stop. Change your plans. Yeah, that's how this feels sometimes. I thought it was the perfect picture for today because we sometimes get stopped, changed, confronted. The world changes and we're not sure which way to go anymore. So our message today is entitled, Compelled to Believe Differently. Compelled to Believe Differently. You like that title, Sue?
I love that. Compelled to think differently. No, I'm not so fond of it.
No.
I don't like to think different.
It's hard.
It is.
Anyway, before we get rolling and all that, I think we'll give them a little interaction time.
Sure.
Okay. So why don't you all jot down your answers. Type this into the feed if you would, so that we can share with others, and it also warms you up for what's ahead. Think about a time when I was forced to make a change I wasn't anticipating. A time when I was forced to make a change I wasn't anticipating.
I had one of those this morning.
You did?
Made me pray
In front of everybody?
in front of everybody.
Yeah, well, I always do that, Sue.
Yeah,
And
well,
you're an old pro at it now, though. But I remember the first times
it was a struggle.
you looked a little uncomfortable, but I knew you'd get
It
through
worked
it.
today.
Yeah. I remember doing lots of things where it's like, okay, this is a great plan. You know, we're going to do this to outreach to the community, and expecting 100 people there, and there was a grand total of 0 people who showed up. You know, and we had to change the plan, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was hard.
Yeah,
So whether they're big changes or little changes, it's just hard when you expect it to go a certain way.
it is. So now we want to hear their stories.
Okay, so watch this video, because sometimes God is going to help us. Change my heart, oh God, while you think of the times when it was you were forced to change and things didn't go as you anticipated. Holy gracious God, yes, may we become more and more like you. Mold us, shape us. Oh, you're the potter, we're the clay. May it be so today and always. Amen. Yeah, each week I give you a little bit of that history, and I just acknowledge that the stories I pull are from a book I've been reading about canoeing the mountains. I just love that title, like you can really canoe the mountains, you know. It's by Todd Bolsinger. And so he's the one who fills in some of these story details that I weave together with with Bibles and our real life stuff. So let's start with what the story of Lewis and Clark is all about again, okay? He writes, Meriwether Lewis was approaching the farthest boundary of the Louisiana Territory, and it was the Continental Divide, okay? The spine, as they call it, of the Rocky Mountains. It is beyond which, in those days, they thought no European American had gone this far before. They had not explored this far, and so this was something new and noteworthy. And so Lewis and Clark believed that this was the Northwest Passage, that was what they were looking for, linking the Mississippi to the Pacific, and it would be so important for commerce and trade and communications and everything for this fledgling new United States, that to lay claim to it was vital. Okay? And with each stride now that Lewis is taking, he is nearing what he expected to be the crowning moment. You know, it's like you're going to get to the top. You're going to go over there. You're going to find yourself looking down now on the downhill slope. You know, from that vantage point, you can sort of see, it's going to roll a little bit, then there's probably this hill, and then it stretches out. Maybe I can even see the Pacific Ocean from here, is what they're probably thinking. It's got to be just over this ridge. If you ever have climbed up to a point, you know what it's like to finally reach the top. This would be a watershed moment for him, for his Corps of Discovery, for all of them, and it's going to be downhill from there. At least that's what they expected. Instead, there were just more mountains. More mountains. I read from his journal, immense ranges of high mountains still to the west of us, with their tops partially covered with snow. Now, according to historical geographer John Logan Allen, he says that moment atop the Lemhi Pass, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, was when the geography of hope gave way to the geography of reality. Oh, it was a disappointing reality, to say the least. When this mental model, you know, this expectation is in our minds, and you get to that point, and it's not. It's like the model, the image, the expectations, they almost die, you know. And there's got to be this sometimes painful paradigm shift in how we think about things, how we process things, that has to take place within us when we face this new reality. It is disorienting, it is anxiety making. It's as if the world that we know ceases to exist. Think about that. Because we thought the world was going to be like that. It is not. It is not. So as Meriwether Lewis approached the top of the Continental Divide, it says that something had to have been preparing him for what he was about to see. I mean, he wrote about being sure that this was the way, that this was what was going to happen, and that when he would crest the hill, and he was finding that he was going to go down from there, but then to find that it wasn't exactly as he expected. I mean, there had to have been clues along the way. In the account in the book, it says that the Mandans told Lewis during the winter that there were mountains, not rivers, ahead, so he had a clue there. The other men in the party noted in their journals that the steep grade was it was ascending a lot, and this was not going to result in navigable waters at all. They recorded also that they had seen the spine out in the distance, and here it comes. They had noticed the Continental Divide there a full 3 months before they even reached it, meaning that is how high and how tall and imposing it was. There must have been signs. There must have been some clue that you're about to hit, well, let's just say a path that said, this is not the trail. Stop. Lewis had probably given it a cursory, okay, yes, but he then proceeded at least to cast off all the thoughts and expected the positive, and perceived that the difficulties were not as bad as he was hoping, for he also wrote these words. He said, I will believe it to be a good and comfortable road until I'm compelled to believe differently. I will believe it to be a good and comfortable road until I'm compelled to believe differently. Lewis exemplifies what happens to most of us when we're confronting rapidly changing circumstances. Yeah, things just keep spinning. And even though there's evidence all around us, we cling to previously held expectations as long as possible. We hang on to things. It reminds me of that those 5 stages of grief that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote about years ago. And if you remember those 5, it begins with denial. Denial. When the world is different than we expected, we become disoriented. We sometimes react instantly with denial because it no, that can't be. It gives us stability again. It puts a firm footing under us instead of instability and confusion. Oh, that can't be happening. That cannot be happening. It's got to be that this is the way we're going, you know. But when the tried and true solutions are not getting the results we hope, or this is just going to, the problems continue, that it's not going away, and it's harder and harder to deny that this is going to have to change, even then we want to get stuck. We don't want to let go of the denial because we're not sure, is this going to be just, maybe it's just temporary. Maybe I don't need to let go of everything because this isn't going to last. This isn't permanent. Maybe that's just a little setback, you know? And so we hang on also with that denial that reality is changing in front of us because we're hoping it isn't going to be long lasting. But when the trends then continue and the evidence becomes more and more clear, yipes, that's when it gets really tricky, because we have to start to believe differently, as Lewis was compelled to do. And we have to start believing differently ourselves. We have to face demanding, difficult decisions with options comprised of shall we call them, competing values. Okay? When we have to face competing values, well, let's just talk about churches for a second. It's like you got to decide between this and that. This and that. What are you going to choose? We get overwhelmed, and it looks things like, well, are you going to care for your long-term members, or are you going to spend more time and money caring for people outside of the church to invite them in? Or it's like, well, you can have all the staff do this who have been trained in these things and have a special expertise, or you can have to let go and rely more on the inexperienced volunteers, the sometimes less reliable volunteers. You've got that tension going on. It's in situations like, do we give a raise to our current staff, or do we go out and hire a new person to take care of some more things? It's like, well, should we just maintain control and unity, or are we going to get innovative and step out of our comfort zones and try things that might fail? See, all those things. Those each time they have conflicting values, because it's not a black and white set of questions usually. It's usually an issue between something that is of equal or near equal value. We want both, and of course we want both of these things. But there are only so many resources, say in the life of a church or in the life of your home, that you have, so you can't have both, and you have to then choose one or the other. And it puts individuals and groups of people, like congregations, into this uncomfortable state of having to decide. But I want both. But you can't. If you want to move forward, you got to decide. But here's that question. The question becomes, well, what will I lose if I choose this one over the other? I value both of them, but if only choose the one, then I'm going to lose something over here. Or what must we be willing to let go of is another way to put this in order to move forward. Oh, that's hard stuff. I think of our Bible and how it has lots of stories of people that had these moments of shall we call it, being confronted with the presence of the Lord, and they were compelled to believe, and I dare say act differently thereafter. The first one that comes to mind is when you're on this path and you think you're going over here, and this one guy is running totally the opposite way, and then he runs into this stop sign, and he takes off his shoes and walks a little closer because the bush is on fire and burning and burning. And there's God's voice talking to him saying, Moses, Moses, you're on the wrong path. I want you to turn back and go back to Egypt and let my people go, tell Pharaoh. That's just one. I also think of this other story that, talking about doing a 180. Here's this guy who's just not on the plan that God and Jesus would have for him until he is struck with the huge stop sign. Stop! This is not the trail you were supposed to be on. You're to go down a whole different path. Maybe we'll have Sue read that one for you right now.
Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for the letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any that belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground, and he heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Who are you, Lord? Saul asked. I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting, he replied. Now get up and go to the city, and you will be told what you must do. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand to Damascus. For 3 days he was blind, and he did not eat or drink anything.
I just love that story. I love that story because here is Saul, who after all this settles will be known as Paul, but right now he is Saul who is traveling a path, going down the road, this well-worn road path to Damascus, okay? But in another sense, he's on a I call it a path of privilege. He is on a path of self-righteousness. He is on this path that empowers him with authority to weed out anyone who doesn't believe the way they believe, and to arrest them, and basically to destroy the opposing forces that are on his path of Pharisaic authority. Yeah, that's the path he's on, and undoubtedly he has been, I would say, challenged, probably confronted with what the other side is thinking a little bit, but Saul refuses to listen, and he denied, shall we say, he denied the validity regarding Jesus' lordship. I will believe it to be a good and comfortable road until I am compelled to believe differently. And then out of nowhere, that's exactly what happens. He is compelled to believe differently. I mean, he is knocked to the ground, is the story. And think about that position. He's knocked to his knees in the dirt. This position of humility is now finds himself in, and it compels him to think differently. Now, Saul was so disoriented. he is off the map. He cannot even picture how to think about all this, how to process all this. He's been thinking they are the enemy, and now he is confronted with a new reality that he has to deal with. And it's like it's so foreign that he just can't see. He's blind. Now, whether you want to interpret this as that he is literally blind, or whether you just want to say he was spiritually blind, it doesn't matter. He was blind, okay? He just could not see where he was going forward at all. And what I think is so fascinating with Saul's story is that it's not like this, wham, I got it, from my old thinking to my new thinking, and it's all done in a flash. It says it took him 3 days to get this figured out. 3 days to live in this dark place, this confusing place, this time it must have been filled with disorientation and fear and doubt and all these things. And 3 days to live in that before Jesus sent him an unexpected partner on his journey. But we'll get into that next week, okay? Unexpected partners are next week. So we'll get into that later. But basically, right now, Saul is in this very dark place. So perhaps your spiritual life feels a little bit like Saul's or Moses. Maybe you've had an experience, or maybe you are still experiencing right now a similar disorienting darkness. Denial may be your first reaction, and that's okay. That would be very natural. This isn't happening. I can't believe this. Yeah, I understand. Denial is okay. And you're going to be holding on for a while too, until you too are, as they say, compelled to believe differently. Compelled to believe differently. You can think of it this way. Perhaps unexpectedly, something else is going to come along that's going to knock you to your knees. Knock you right to your knees, because the view ahead of you is definitely not what you expected it to be. It is not what you bargained for. And you were in denial until things like this came along. The lab results were not benign, they were malignant. Or your house inspection came back with 127 pages of repairs, and your potential buyers backed out on you. Or your middle schooler, his grades have been dropping again, and just this morning you found pot under his mattress. Or your partner tells you that she's moving out. These are the compelling moments when everything changes. And you can't deny it anymore. These are the times which force you to reorient your life. These are the days that you wished would never come, but they have, right? And now you must make some decisions, tough decisions, something that have equal value, or how do you go forward? How do you move forward? So here's just some thoughts to help you through this, okay? To begin with, begin by being gentle on yourself during these times. It's stressful. Cut yourself some grace now. And I dare say, be gentle with those around you as well. These would be the times you're likely to be more emotional and reactive. So take an extra breath sometimes before you respond. Begin by acknowledging, okay, there are going to be some struggles. There are going to be some painful times ahead. But these are not what will define you. These are not what will defeat you. Begin by affirming that. Here come some tough times, but this is not who I am. Begin by telling yourself, this is not the end. It feels like something is ending, but also that means this is a beginning. Begin by just reminding yourself. It's like turning to a new chapter, as they say in life. Yes, but all we want to sometimes fixate on is this is the end. It's also a new beginning. Begin by reminding yourself of that. Begin, finally, also by remembering the faith that got you to this point in your life, the God who has journeyed with you to this point with you. This is the God who will continue with you step by step through these troubling times. This is not a God who disappears, who leaves you in your misery, but who is there to comfort and support and love you through these times as well. Begin by telling your heart to beat again.
Just what are you willing to give up? I'm struggling with that one a little bit. What am I going to let go of? When you're faced with that road or that path that's hard to stumble on, that's hard, remembering that God is with you, that He created you and molded you, and He gives you the tools you need to walk that path. He never said it was going to be easy. He did say He'd be there. And He's given you everything you need to get through it. He's even carried you through some of those places where you've had struggles. Your friends, your family, your jobs, even your enemies. He's got those there for you to learn from and use to help others. When we help others, that's when we see God showing through us. And He uses His tools that He gave us when He created us and He molded us, as He is the potter, to use those tools for other people, whether that be your talents, your services, or your gift of money for a church that helps people who are far, far away like us, just to see God, to feel God, to hear God. We get to be God. You're going to watch a video while the offering link is put into the comments, and it's by Danny Goki. It's Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. Listen to the message. It's phenomenal. Oh, you have to go to YouTube, though. Sorry. I need to tell you that. You're going to go off to YouTube, but come back. Don't stop there. Come back and see us. You have about 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Pop over, check the video on YouTube.
welcome back. Some of you are probably still watching the end of that video. We had a slight delay in getting the link there to you. So just for those who were able to click on over, isn't that a powerful song? Just for wrapping up what we're talking about. If you didn't get a chance to click over now, I do highly encourage you to go listen to that song by Danny Goki. Tell Your Heart to Beat Again. Really inspirational. And there's another song that comes actually from our United Methodist hymnal that is really appropriate as our prayer for today. I just was reading through the lyrics and thought how that just fits with what we're all about. It's you can turn in your hymnals to page 383. I don't think anyone's turning to page 383, but okay. Turn to page 383, and it's called "This Is a Day of New Beginnings." Actually, the hymn was written for I think it was a New Year's type of service, but the lyricist Brian Arthur Wren sort of was capturing his heart when he was saying that there's this recurrent awakening. A reoccurring awakening in life, and it's and just looking at nature doesn't do it all for him. He found that his foundation needed something stronger, a hope, a vision for real change and its stability through all those things, and by faith in Christ, this is where his strength came from. And whether it's like the change is coming in a month, in a week, or in a day, however fast the changeover is taking place, here's this promise in this song. And it's a springboard to maybe help change your life as well. So I invite you to be in an attitude of prayer with me as the music plays, but I'll just be reading the lyrics for us as our prayer for the day. Holy One, this is a day of new beginnings. It's a time to remember and move on. Time to believe what love is bringing and laying to rest the pain that's gone. For by the life and death of Jesus, God's mighty Spirit, now as then, can make for us just a world of difference as faith and hope are born again. So then let us, with the Spirit's daring, step from the past and leave behind our disappointment, guilt, and grieving, seeking new paths and sure to find. For Christ is alive and goes before us to show and share what love can do. This is a day of new beginnings. Our God is making all things new. Amen.
Hey, Jim.
Sue!
Yeah. Guess what? We have had so much fun today.
We have.
It's time to let them go live their lives and use the information and the love that... No, it's not?
I deny it.
Oh, you can't deny. Wait a minute.
Do not compel me to believe differently.
Okay. Denial is the first step. Let's move on.
I deny it. I want to keep talking with them and praying with them and being with them and sharing
We'll be
this
back
journey.
Next week, but earlier.
Oh,
earlier.
Oh, what do you mean?
Earlier. We're going to
What?
be here bright and early next week.
Are we?
Starting at 8:30.
This group is starting at 8:30?
This group. is
Online
starting
group?
Online, 8:30.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. It says right here.
It
I
does.
won't be here.
You won't be here?
I won't be here, nope.
What?
Yep, I'm taking a break.
Again?
It's a time change.
Oh,
You've got to give
no.
me time to go through denial.
No, you just have other plans.
I
I
do have
know.
other
That's a
plans.
bummer, but we're glad you're back, and you're gonna be back again.
I
But
will be back
you're gonna
again,
make me
yeah.
go through the change all by myself here.
Oh, you'll be okay. You
Okay.
have God with you.
8:30, and I hope I have
8:30.
all of them with me too. So 8:30, you tune in, and we'll go live then. And the in person, if you're tuning in and wondering what's happening with that, that's moving to what time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So, all right.
Next week, there's a leadership gathering. I don't know if any of these people want to come to it, but maybe they do
They-
if
they
they're
might-
local.
It's next Saturday morning.
Yeah.
See, here's what's going on. There's going to be a lot of changes going on in the life of the church. Okay, if you haven't picked up on some of the clues come along, we're going to be compelled to believe differently very shortly. And I don't usually want to turn worship into a report on, stuff like that. So we worship with all these ideas, but if you really want to hear what is happening, what's going on in the life of the church, that's what this leadership day is to. Guess what? Mountains, 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 mountains out there, mountains. And we'll name some of them and have to start looking at new paths together. But I think worship should be about our spiritual journeys. And we'll deal with all that church business another time, another way, which is next Saturday, starting at 8:30. It'll
Yep.
go through the morning, and we'll start
See where we
more
go from there.
conversations
Right.
about where we're going.
Thursday, October 28th,
Yep.
the Reconciling Ministries of MAC have asked Bethel to show a video. And the video is called For They Know Not What They Do. And it's from 6:30 to 8:30. It includes the movie and a follow-up discussion.
And there are lots of other sites across the state, I want to say, or at least the Twin Cities, and maybe further. You can gather at any of these locations. We all have different times, so check out if you want to. Like, hey, is there something near me, I don't know, Rochester? Well, yeah, we can maybe look it up and find it, or you can find it. Check that out with the Reconciling Ministries. Great video movie. Let's just call it a movie. It's movie night time. And they're going to hear more about what the whole LGBTQ issues are and what does it feel like for families, and get more sensitive to those issues and struggles that they have. We are a reconciling congregation, and we want to support that community and also make us aware of what that involves. So, yeah, 28th you said, right?
28th. Yep,
That will be hosted here.
6:30 to
So,
8:30.
Yep.
And we're going to continue with the path forward. Unexpected partners next week?
What?
Yeah, unexpected partners.
But I just want you.
Oh, nope.
Nope.
You're going to need more.
Unexpected
Yep,
partners.
Yep.
Uh-huh. It's a good one. Yeah, I have been looking forward to that week. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. And then we have our song.
Our song,
Our song. Yep, Casting Crowns. Your favorite group.
one of my favorites.
One of, yeah.
Well, I have many
Yeah, I know.
contemporary Christian groups that I
Yes.
love, but you kind of found this one.
I did. Mm-hmm.
I-
What if I give everything?
It-
Everything.
There's another song that sounds like that by its title. What if I gave all? But
Rabeled.
that's right.
Yep.
But that
It's
is
a country and
not.
western song.
That's not what this song is.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
This is a brand new one by
Yeah.
Casting Crowns, and I thought it was great. It's kind of our journey here too, and it talks about that, and it fits well with today's message. So not only are you going to go off to YouTube and watch Danny Gorky's "Tell Your Heart to Beat Again," but go watch this one too.
Yes.
That says, "What if I gave everything?" It kind of gives you that song to send you off into the week. So, it's that time
It is that time.
to tell them from here, Bethel,
God's house.
the house of God, to
Their house.
their house. May God's Spirit ever be near you for whatever mountains you are facing. May you know that you are not going alone. May you know you are so loved by our Lord. Then maybe he'll come and knock you off your horse into the dirt and onto your knees. But, man, the life ahead of you is a whole new beginning. May it be so. Blessings.